team ban. Vega Squadron's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Hello everybody, and welcome, hey, welcome everybody to our first and only series of the Dota Pit Day. I'm Toby1, I'm your host for the English live stream, and we're bringing you Vega versus the boys that still suckle at their mother's teat. It is Mama's Boys. Let's go straight into our game. You don't want to see me out my ugly face up on the screen, and I welcome in the man whose accent always entertains me, as well as informs me with the information he says out of his mouth. That is Scansor. Hello man, what's happening?
Not too bad actually. It's the first series that I've cast since Starladder, and incidentally, it's also the first series that Vega Squadron have played since Starladder. So I know that it'll be their first of Dota Pit too. I believe that Mama's Boys actually already played one series in this tournament. I think yesterday, and they actually lost against London Conspiracy. Not sure if you cast that.
I didn't cast the one yesterday. That was Cap who was casting that game, but you are correct. You are correct. Mama's Boys are currently at the bottom of the pool, and Vega, as well as Na'Vi, because this is all out of Group B. Group B is what we're doing tonight. So the only game that was played out of this was London Conspiracy versus Mama's Boys, but third, NLG, Na'Vi, as well as Vega are still to play their first series until today for Vega.
Alright, well, what I can say, I mean, yeah, Vega fresh from the LAN where they looked, I mean, I think some people think that Vega is a team. I definitely, at the start of that LAN, I thought, like, they're underwhelming, their form's gone down, and then they got some big wins, and against Secrets, against Virtus Pro, they well against EG, even though they lost 2-0, they had a game where they probably could have beaten EG. On the other hand, their all-time history against Mama's Boys, they've actually never won a series against Mama's Boys from when they were formed as 4CL. They've played each other 3 times, twice at the game show LAN and once I think in Dream League, and each time Mama's Boys have come out on top. And honestly, I think that maybe goes down to the fact that Vega Squadron at a certain point became a bit predictable in the way that they play Dota, and Mama's Boys are a very intelligent Dota team. I mean, they have like support players 8k MMR. that to me, that's like always a telling factor.
The Mama's Boys also were using, like, a game you're talking about back at Dream League, that was when EGM was still playing for 4CNL. Before just moving over to Alliance. And that was a very different time when they were part of 4CNL. They were coming up with inventive strats, things seemed to be working well, their synergy looked to be really nice, but this may be the first time that it turns around the other way and Vega take out the game. Especially when they can go for something which is more of a pocket strat for them. This is so much damage and so much push power with Drove VS combo. And the Death Prophet Dazzle, aka Dazzle keeping Death Prophet alive while she goes through an entire ultimate. The only thing that was really missing from that lineup was having the Oracle instead of the Dazzle, to make it completely impossible to kill the DP.
Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. They've got like 2 different combinations, because even though DP's range, she's not really going to benefit that much from the draw or the Venge, because DP's right clicks are really not that significant. She's about the nukes and the ulti. I mean, while you have the draw and the Venge, I guess she will actually be right-clicking. A lot of the time you see DPs like literally not right-click, like rather use it to move around and get into the right position for each of your nukes. But we might see some actual attack animations out of Death Prophet in team fights this game. Draw Ranger, Virtus Pro is certainly known for Draw Ranger. I'm not sure if Vega have been a draw team, but I have very little.
You might want to start pulling up the stats on it, but I remember Vega actually being part of the crew that did run Draw Ranger quite frequently, but it was only during a small block period where Dro and the whole aura strat with her was being completely exploited. So,
yeah, I'm having a...
Yeah. I still want to see how they wrap up their lineup. Like, you don't have to go for the 5 range. In fact, normally when you go for a Dro lineup, is tagged on with an initiator, something like a Spirit Breaker, or you have something which has push and control. They banned out the hero I thought they might have gone for, which was the Broodmother. So yeah,
Vega
I'm
Squadrons
interested to see who the
turn
last
ban.
one's going to be, because a lot of the offlaners, Beastmaster and Batrider was the focus of Pycat for his second phase bans. So he's definitely trying to cripple that offlane. And now it picks up potentially his offlaner as well. It's not classic hero of Sexy Bambo.
10 seconds remaining.
Find what you're looking for?
Radiant team ban.
Oh, sorry, I actually did, and I muted my mic, and then I forgot to unmute. I was saying, Sand King's very good against the draw strategy, because you want heroes that can get onto the draw, not just in terms of disabling and bursting it down, but turning off the ulti. So it makes a lot of sense. I did find Vega Squadron in the history of all Dota 2, well, according to Depth Dota anyway, have 4 games of draw, and they're 3 for 1. So, pretty good. I mean, there's very little doubt in my mind that they can run the hero regardless of how many times they've played it. On the other hand,
I remember more games than that. Maybe they played it in one of the games which aren't ticketed.
Vega Squadrons
it's possible.
Because they might have played it in one of like our JD Cups, which never got on a ticket.
I mean, it's definitely possible. There's been quite a lot of tournaments that haven't gotten tickets, that haven't gotten to Depth Dota. Yeah. But for my mind, at least, if I think of CIS Dota, I think of Draw Ranger. I always think of Virtus Pro. Like, they
definitely
kind of the signature of the draw. They're the ones that knocked out Team Secret with the Draw Ranger and TI5. You know, like but at the same time, I've said many times, and I don't think it's that difficult to run a draw lineup. I think it's certainly unusual what they're doing here, having the draw with the DP. Almost always you see the draw with the second damage core, which actually like is more about the right clicks, like, you know, your Wind Ranger or your Viper or Shadow Fiend even. So it is a different slant on the approach, and Sven's pretty good against them because the Warcry against all that physical damage. Sand King, as I said, very good jumping onto people. And this is kind of where I see this match. This is what I was saying at the start. I think that Vega Squadron's a stronger team. They're probably even a tier ahead of Mama's Boys. They definitely, like, as a 5-man unit, like, they know each other better, they play better as a team. But Mama's Boys, I sort of see having the potential to outthink Vega in the draft and maybe beat them as a result of that.
I don't disagree with you with the fact that Mama's Boys have a very strong draft against at least the Dro Ranger. My concern is once you use things like Glimpse Burrow Strike as well as potentially, like, I'll get to this thought in a little bit later time when we get to our laning phase. But when you start using all your stuns and your distance closing abilities, what else will there be? If Dro Ranger gets a good gust, it's another good and simple way to disrupt an off-lane Sand King. The laning phase is fine there. Dazzle just needs to keep his distance. Get enough farm early on and get that lens. He can keep a very large distance. And the last point which they required was some level of teamfight control and more than anything else, base creation. So you got VS Swap, you got Dazzle Shallow Grave, you're probably giving it over Yule Slipper from the Death Prophet. Dro Ranger's got a Gust. They've got the potential, if they do work as this 5-man unit you talk about, to really just keep Mama's Boys at bay, and that all has to come from the laning phase.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I feel is awkward about Vegas draft is, like, it's very, very strong in terms of, like, taking particular fights. But I'm nervous about the fact that they have a draft that's kind of cooldown dependent, because the DP and the Void ulti are going to be very crucial to their ability to take fights. And normally one of the very big advantages of a draw ranger strategy is that you don't depend on big cooldowns, because it's just about really high damage right clicks. So I don't know. There's like, I mean, on the one hand, you could say that that's creativity out of Vega Squadron. They've done something new to the Draw Ranger draft. But on the other hand, I think there's a good reason why draw drafts don't usually depend on the big ultis. And if there's going to be a way for Mama's Boys to capitalize this game, it'll be exactly, you know, when there isn't a chrono, when there isn't an exorcism.
You know, the funny thing is, I always want to keep the thoughts of, I think it was Fear. Like, I cast with Fear. Like, we're talking maybe almost a year ago, actually. And one of the things he always said about the Dro Ranger is that he feels that the Dro Ranger is an aura. And that's basically the hero. There's nothing more to the hero. So if you just have a Dro Ranger as support role, and then you had something like a VS who has moved into court roles previously, play that kind of role as a damage dealer, which you get anyway from the Dro aura, they basically are running 4 cores. And the Dro just needs to make sure she has a little bit of agility buff up. You can get, like, treads as well as 2 wraith bands. If you feel luxurious, you can get yourself a Yasha. And then you still do your tower pushing power by having something like a Mask of Madness on that Dro Ranger. You give everything that you're searching for by just having a couple of items and staying alive. So you don't even have to be involved in the fights. It's almost like an ancient apparition in that case, where you just hold back a long way and you still impact the fight. Not with an blast, just with.
I completely agree. Like this is a hero that's. I think that most professional players would tell you that in a Draw Ranger strategy, she's not the true carry. She's like she supports the actual carry usually, and that's exactly why I find it strange that they have a DP and not a Wind Ranger, not a Viper, not one of those kinds of heroes. Because normally her job is to sit in the jungle, get farm, stay safe, and make someone else, make the Queen of Pain or the Wind Ranger or the Viper or someone hit really hard. And
it's gonna come down to timing though. Like you think about it. Like you're running a DP, you want to be able to take down towers early on. Normally with a level 1 exorcism, can't really achieve that. But when you've got the Dro buff up, if no one rotates early to that top lane, they will burn out that tier 1 tower. And the next time ulti comes up, they go for the mid tower, then the bottom tower, then Roshan. Like they'll have the damage, and they do a lot of impact early on against a hero, and this is kind of why I wanted to wait until the laning phase, because I knew it would bring up this point. Up against a hero like Sven, who has become a lot more of a farmer hero by going in for this Treads and then Helm with the Dominator build. And then moving around with a high level up in Cleave and farming up the camps. I get a feeling that Vega is trying to punish that small window that Mama's Boys is going to need to farm.
Yeah, Sven is also a kind of like there for tankiness. A lot of the time you see him pick these days, it's because there's a lot of physical damage. And so it's going to be, I think you make a good point that Svens have been maxing Cleave a lot more than they used to. But there's a lot of tension in this game because he definitely wants to max his Warcry early on. So we might actually just see only 1 or 2 points in the stun and leave it at that to max both the other skills together.
Seamer is really trying to zone out Bambo here. He refuses to level anything up, so he doesn't just go directly into Sandstorm, because he doesn't know... Actually, he should know that there's the aura over on Vega. But once that Gust is up for Pasha, he can't just easily stand in this lane. But he's only got 3 Tango charges. He's actually refusing to use one right now, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, on the other side of the map, the creep stacked up, and so Mag managed to get some XP, but it's going to push away, and after it pushes away, actually, Disrupt is one of the best heroes at zoning Faceless Void. I think when people started picking offlane Faceless Void initially, the value of it was that supports weren't sure how to zone it, because if you cast a big nuke, you just time walks the damage off, but because Disruptor's nuke is like in instances, it's much more difficult to deal with that as the Faceless Void, so I think very soon Mag's going to stop getting value out of this lane.
It'll be so much harder as well for Mag. Once you get something like Glimpse up and running, you want to time walk out the damage, and that's going to come during a very specific period of time. Once Glimpse comes up, you can just be pulled straight back again. You don't have your escape mechanism, and the Tuskar is then able to capitalize on the situation. You should note the CS in mid lane. No one is currently ripping apart that Invoker. Obviously, he's got the bonus 11 damage, and he's been using Soul Siphon to try and zone out the Invoker as much as he possibly can.
We should have talked about this earlier, to be honest, because this is even the old DP when she was weaker. I think it was widely agreed that she was like just a easy lane against Invoker. Invoker, once he gets some levels, can sometimes make a comeback in this lane, but in the early levels, it's just like completely one-way traffic. It always is, and the hero's been buffed, so this is actually what you expect to happen in this lane. It's nothing to do with the players. Like if they're equal players, the DP should definitely outfarm the Invoker at the start.
Well, with that creep wave now, like she's still like maybe 3 CS average ahead of Hook. So it's not brutal as such, but it's still a little bit off. Yapzor and Mag gonna find each other up near the Dire Secret Shop. Nothing's really gonna come of it. It just shows the rotation.
And Hooker and Yapzor are actually both Jordanian, right? And the other Jordanian player we know is Miracle, who's definitely made a big impact on the scene. So kind of exciting times, you know, these up-and-coming players from countries not historically as associated with professional Dota 2.
When are we going to get the All-Star South African team?
I don't know. That's not on me. We got a couple of 6K MMR players who, you know, hot shots who could make it. But I used to play with them actually myself, but I don't do that anymore. I'm too old, you know.
Getting too slow. You've already made the decision to move to casting as a player.
I'm like I skipped the professional player. I mean, it's in South Africa. I'm very well known as a player, actually. In fact, South African Dota community thinks of me in very much like an old man fear, kind of like everyone makes fun of me and calls me old and like, it's actually what happens, right? Yeah. But yeah, do you see that Mag's gone for the Iron Talon? And this is what offlane Dota has become in this patch. Like, you're either a hero that is really good, just like really strong at laning, like the Darkseer or whatever. And anyway, Darkseer, Nature's Prophet, those heroes are good at the lane and they go to the jungle. If you're not one of those select heroes, very often the supports, if they're doing their job, they force you to buy an Iron Talon and go to the jungle. That's just, we're going to see it more and more and more in this patch. If Iron Talon, a lot of players have been complaining about Iron Talon as an item, but honestly, if this item didn't get added to the game, offlaners would just like, the offlane would be like, there's only 3 heroes you can pick in this patch. So
who needs
I think it's
offlane? The reason why there's complaints is because of what Korra was doing. Like,
you mean because of jungling and getting dragons and stuff?
It's the
Radiant's top tower
that
is under
was
attack.
Korra's where he wanted to be an ancient.
Radiant structures are
But it's just the
fortified.
manipulation of the jungle, which is where most of the complaints, I believe, are actually stemming from.
Yeah, I mean, I think those complaints are legitimate. The point I'm making is just that it's actually like a necessary safety net for offlaners, because otherwise offlaners in this patch would... This is like such a difficult patch to get value in the actual offlane.
That push I was talking about from Vega, it's already started up. Seema as well as Solo have actually done a really good job of staying away from Pasha. It's one of the most frustrating things any Drow Ranger player. Because when you know, like you could be pressured on the top lane, that your supporters have to hang in the lane with you.
Radiant's top tower
And then the ones that actually just hang in there anyway.
So
They should
Haste
be
to
first
DP
blood.
is...
Snowball it up. A little bit of a gust missed time there by Pasha. But the first blood is still going to go the way of the Drow Ranger.
and a point.
Yeah, you snowball into a hasted hero, they're gonna pull you wherever they want, and pretty easy to finish you off there. So quite a late first blood actually, and it's also something that we've seen quite a lot in this patch so far. Surprisingly, especially I think in European Dota, from what I've seen, like slow starting games in terms of kills.
Bambo didn't think he had the confidence for that. The Sandstorm moved up and gone for the Burrow Strike. Maybe it's because Tuskar's Shards was on cooldown. They could have locked Seema in their Radiant camp, in their Radiant secret shop.
So if you look at, we were talking at the start about what Pykat's gonna skill. Have you actually checked? He's saved 4 points. He saved 4 skill points because he hasn't decided yet. Am I gonna take Warcry and go fight them, or am I gonna take Cleave and just farm the jungle?
Yeah. He was worried about the same thing I was. The fact that Vega just forced down too many towers. Now there's a nice little mid gank, but no one. So he just starts taking the souls away from Invoker. The glimpse back actually not synergizing perfectly. Now the Shallow Grave will kick in from the Dazzle. The Snowball's running forward. No one needs to outrun this. The Snowball doesn't connect. It does actually connect with the burst heal. No one may die, but they're going to lose both Disruptor as well as Tusker. His shards drop cooldown 1 second time, so maybe he can block him in, but no, Pasha rotates over. We'll find the pick off with 1 cold arrow as he's farming in the jungle. But this leaves top lane completely unattended, and there's easy CS up there, and looks like Solo's going to take that.
It's something I actually appreciate about the CIS Drow players. They almost always have like at least 1 point in their cold arrows. There's a lot of Drow players who actually just completely skip it, and I feel like it's actually fairly common that you get into a situation where just to guarantee a kill, you want a little bit of slow.
It doesn't make any real sense though to skip it. It looks like Pycat actually had a crack there at Mag. He's triggered God Strength, now beaten to the tower before Mag hits his level 6.
I mean, the players who skip it, their reasoning is exactly what we discussed earlier. It's like this hero's meant to just farm in the jungle, be AFK, and give other people damage. That's what they're thinking. But I kind of agree with you. I think, like, you know, Dota's a very complicated game, and you're gonna get into some situation where you want to be able to slow someone, and then you're gonna regret not having it.
At the same time, it's one of these things where I don't know the exact movement speed calculations for it. But because they changed Drow Ranger's cold arrows, I think it must have been like 3-4 major patches ago. Yeah, Mag, you can't TP on towers. No matter how hard you try, but Disrupt's still going to go down to Pasha. It's like there was a bit of a dive as well as Tusker dies underneath the tower. Bambo as well as Hook are very low. 2 very simple pickoffs there for Vega. Yeah, with the level 2 cold arrows, they do the same as what level 4 cold arrows did. When that change came, and it allows you at level 2 cold arrows, if you have Preds, You can just like, you can all walk it. Barry, get the hell out of there before you get bursted down. Solo still went for it.
Dire's bottom tower has
Yeah,
fallen.
you're able to actually keep the chase going. There's no one that can really run away from you unless they use an escape mechanism, like Burrow Strike or something along those lines.
Yeah, I agree.
Simple kill mechanic.
It's just, it's literally just like, do you want to skill your hero in a way that encourages you to like go after kills when you're a hero that actually, a lot of people think that it's like a mistake to go for kills in this hero even when you can, because you're putting yourself in harm's way, and the best way to play the hero is actually just to like sit around like he is now, AFK farm jungle. Occasionally you group up with your team to push, but most of the time you're just farming and giving them damage with the aura.
Yeah. I don't know about this from Hook, but I've now counted 6 Forged Spirits which are being killed off by no one. Being able to Crypt Swarm Forged Spirits twice and then just physically attack them down
Dire's middle tower
from there.
is under attack.
Doesn't seem to take much, but it's just that little bit of extra farm keeps kicking into that Death Prophet. So now she's got a bottle, she's got her Phase Boots up and running. 10 minutes in, Exorcism is back off cooldown. Chronosphere is available for Mag. So I'm looking for the tier 1 play towards mid. Like, Drone's still
Forged
farming
Spirits-
up, but she's actually finished that Yasha I was talking about.
Forge Brits are one of those kind of subtle that, like, there's a lot of summons actually in Dota that people regularly like feed more than they should, and there's something about it's one of those. It's like kind of like trade swapping. Once you get into the habit of trade swapping, it's like the most obvious thing, you'll always do it, but you need to get into that habit, and just you have to kind of get into the habit of valuing the lives of your summons and not just throwing them away. A lot of people kind of just instinctively don't think about that, I think.
It's not the mid lane which Vega are going to focus on. They're headed down to the bottom lane instead. Because Monkey Business were able to get down in that observer wall before they got fully scouted out by that dire obs, they're able to just see the trade and go for the mid. Fortification will trigger, but this is just a simple trade for trade. Vega don't have to stop here. They've still got Exorcism available. They can force that tier 2. You look how fast that tier 1 tower dies.
Mama's boys are gonna keep trying to trade. That's like it's exactly the right decision here. I don't think they're in a position to take the fight right now. They're gonna keep, yeah, because Vega feel very confident going into a fight. So they're like, if you're not gonna come, if you're just gonna trade, then we'll come to you and fight you.
Oh, actually do.
Although it looks, yeah, but it looks like 2 of them just want to rush.
The thing is, it's not really try. The Sunstrike's gonna scout it out perfectly. So nice presence of mind by Hook.
They don't care. Does it like Vega? Like I just said, Mama's boys don't want to take the fight. So even if they know there's rush, they can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Dire's top tower.
It's lovely when a trope plan comes together. Not so certain about giving the Aegis Immortal to a Death Prophet who's just about to finish up a Yule Scepter. But she expends her ultimate, and then I'd say then she doesn't really give that much more. I gotta remember Soul Siphon as well as Crypt Swarm does a hell of a lot. Another tower trade-off after this is tier 1 for tier 1.
It's actually, I've been talking a lot about how like it's unusual to have Drow and DP together because the aura doesn't benefit the DP that much, but there's something in this which I think is maybe quite sophisticated from Vega, which is that when you're against the Drow strat, you're always going to try to focus the Drow. So you're going to go to great lengths to find her at the back of the push, go onto her, kill her, and what's really cool about this Vega strat is even if they throw everything at Drow and kill Drow, DP is still going to be destroying them. It's not like once the Drow dies, suddenly DP doesn't have the damage output. She's still got it because she doesn't depend on the Drow that much. So if you look at it that way, it's actually quite clever to pick these heroes.
You're in a horrible choke point right now, Mag. He's going to have to time walk himself away. Disrupt is on the other side of the hill, which is what's making this such a weird pincer move. But it was the Ancient Stack which was being contested at the time. The blink from Bamboo is now revealed as well, as he blinks away from the Poison Touch. But you get a double Chronosphere. No one. Still not triggering the ult. He can now, okay, he will do so. The Soul Cypher's not going to do enough. Time Cap will drop as no one. He can't really reach him. The Ice Wall will separate the field. In comes Bamboo for a 4-man epicenter. The damage, however, is just not enough. They're going to swap them down, pulling Disruptor into the fight. The Invoker, the only one to survive, as no one basically dealt with 2 by himself, didn't even have the Aegis model expended. And that's a rough position for me.
It's very well played by no one actually, because of the positioning that he chose to go for in that fight, because he charged forward and didn't come back to fight the Sand King. It wasn't possible for Mama's boys to actually help Bambo, so it doesn't matter if he gets the world's best epicenter into Burrow Strike. He's on his own there. There's no way that his teammates can run through the Death Prophets. Maybe if Bambo was like level 2 ulti with level 4 stun, but he's not actually he's level 1 ulti, he's level 3 stun, so he just couldn't get that much down on his own.
Coming up for the Invoker. There's no Chronosphere available. He's also got a TP scroll, and they cannot rely on that stun of Mag. So Hook will be able to TP himself away to safety. And when that Exorcism comes back up again and Chrono's back up, actually even without that, they can still force down buildings. With 14 minutes in, and the damage output of Vega is through the roof. You actually get now the Dragon Lance over on Pasha.
Visibility.
Keep this distance even more. I love it. This is such a well thought out timed lineup from Vega.
It's Dragon Lance is a really good item as well, actually. You can keep it if you want. If you want, you can change it eventually into Butterfly, BKB, or even into your Sanj for Sanj and Yasha. It's just, the range is actually very, very nice. We were talking before about how she wants to, it's like a global hero, like, hey, you want to stand far back, give aura. But because she's already got very high base range, if you buy the Dragon Lance as well, there's a lot more value in sort of being at the fight, but you can still be far away even though you're at the fights, and that lets it play that kind of like from the outskirts role which he wants to play.
Does the Dragon Lance actually update the displayed attack range?
It
says our attack range now is 755.
Dire's top tower
Yeah,
is under
it
attack.
does update it.
Okay.
So because the attack range is usually 625, I think, or 6. We can actually figure it out, right? It's usually 625. So
Radiant's bottom
not
tower is
755,
under
which
attack.
625 itself is actually very high range.
Dire's top tower
So thinking
is
about
under
how it
attack.
works now with also the radius of
Radiant's
Mag's
bottom
ulti,
tower has
just
fallen.
how far away she can be but still attacking people inside the Chronosphere. But there's such a huge bubble which is created by Vega. Now, it's going to force the issue. A defensive weave, so their armor goes through the roof, you put that Eul Scepter on the Death Prophet, and still walking around with the Aegis the Immortal. So no one's happy to tank the initial burst of damage, and now Mag jumps in, he's just on the edge, gets both Venom as well as the Disruptor. Now snowball in for a little bit of safety, but then the burst heal from Solo kicks in. They take so much damage that Death Prophet ulti is still going to work until Bambo, he can pick up the two backliners, including the Drow Ranger. Now Vega's in trouble, the Stormbolt flies forward, Mag gonna be glimpsed back inside the base. And now Vega, they don't respect enough of the Monkey Business's high ground defense. They lose their backline. Man's got time walk again in 1 second time. He'll jump down, looking for the TP out, but they've got stuns available. They'll find the kill. Mag will drop, Vega losing 3 as they try and force the issue pre-15 minutes into the MB base.
Yeah, I mean, they're, like, without a doubt, much, much stronger. They should be winning a 5v5 fight, but it's exactly as you said, it's the high ground. And this is not something new in Dota 2, right? This is like, high ground has been kind of the talking point of Dota for a year or two now already. That is where, if you're trying to push, you're most likely to get turned back. And honestly, I think Vega were ready to take the fights. The Chronosphere was a bit awkward. It was like, I think most of the players would have thought that it's going to be a bad Chrono. It turned out to be quite a good one, but it was so close to being a bad one that I think they weren't ready to like, aha, he hit the Chrono, let's go. And there's a little bit of indecision there. And they end up swapping in the Invoker. It just looks very messy, the execution for Vega, whereas Mama's Boys, the defending team, when you're defending high ground, it's a lot easier to get your execution right, and they do exactly that and repel the push.
It seems such a weird thing as well for Vega to do this. Like, you understand that the Epicenter SK is going to come in from behind. The snowball from Yaps or Force Vega to come in closer because they thought they had an opportunity. When that Dazzle Shadow Wave went out, I thought, okay, this fight is over. The damage output into Monkey Business should have been through the roof, combining it up with the Prophet and all the early damage they did previously. But they found themselves underneath the racks. When you're playing such a ranged lineup, like your lineup gets more damage when you play from range. So
yeah.
Why then do you find almost all the heroes pretty much inside? Like, the only ones that weren't were the Dazzle and the Drow at the back lines, which is exactly where they should have been. But the SK is always going to reach them. The Tuskar can close the distance. And when Pycat is able to finish, actually, I'm wondering if he does go the Blink Dagger. But if he gets a Blink Dagger up and running, they're always going to close that distance.
Yeah, and it's exactly a positioning thing. So Vega ended up too far forward, even though they've got the range. And on the other hand, Mama's Boys managed to defend the base without anyone standing right up against DP for like the duration of the fights. And DP is probably the reason that Vega, even though the fight starts badly, they decide to keep fighting because you have a Death Prophet. It's like peaking. It's really strong. It has its ulti on. Like, why not keep going? But again, it's when the enemy team is defending high ground, it's easier for them to like play around that, and no single hero has to like completely tank the ghosts.
They're waiting on bottom lane. very exposed here, and Bambo is going to really try and capitalize on it. Blink forward, gets the Burrow Strike. They've still got Solo behind him. In fact, they already swapped Pasha out around the Sentry Ward in case Bambo was hanging around inside their Sandstorm. They put the swap on the cooldown, but right now Vega, they're fine with that. They're just waiting for Roshan.
Yeah, Mama's boys were basically just checking how many people were there. So they thought Drow's there, maybe covered by Dazzle. They're happy to go on that. As soon as they see the Venge, they're like, okay, there's actually a lot of heroes here. Let's get out of here.
So that mech from Vega is being built over on Solo. Kind of putting all your healing eggs in one basket. But it's allowing no one to go directly into this Octarine after finishing up his Yule Scepter.
Well, this is a very clever move from Vega. This is very clever. Actually, Drow's showing mids, the other three smoking to top, and there's going to probably be a TP. Yeah.
Swap back. Disruptor ulti though. Posing a couple of problems for Vega. They do commit the Exorcism of the Death Prophet, so they have to get back in range of Pycap. He's just running away. The snowball from Yapsor is going to try and create as much space as possible. And, well, the space was created. He'll lose his life for it, but it's a lot better that he dies than Pycat dies. Max
just
could actually chrono this, but he's got no help. They're too far away, and the damage output of this Faithless Void is nowhere near enough. The Wave of Terror is also short. He'll jump down again, try and slow down this Ven, but Warcry's back off cooldown, so Pycat up. Doesn't start his TP, they gust, but he runs the other way. Again, Mag trying to close that distance. The Shadow, actually the Weave is what reveals at his position as he comes underneath the tower. Out goes the TP, but it will not be successful. Bambo, he tried to actually force-stop him to allow the TP to function, but ends up feeding his own life, and now a double kill into that Drow Ranger. And at the same time as Roshan spawns, it couldn't get any worse for him.
Something we didn't really talk about yet this game, but it's actually a very good game for time dilation, so that's another thing that justifies the Void. Everyone on the team of Mama's Boys has like a lot of castable spells, so it's quite nice. It means outside of Chrono he's going to be doing a lot of work, he's going to be slowing people, he's going to be, you know, stopping them from getting those cooldowns up again. But yeah, I think the original move from Vega is just very, very clever, because Drow is not usually seen as a hero that like TPs into a fight and then the fight starts. And that's kind of the play they made. The Void had TP'd bots, he couldn't actually get there early on, he had to run across. It was just, literally, it was like the three kind of supporty, I mean, well, I guess it was the DP and two supports, smoking on their own, and you see a Drow, you don't think that they're going to start a fight with Drow TPing in, but actually you're wrong, that's how they start the fights, and I think Vega pulled back basically everything that they threw away with the field's high ground.
Still can't afford to do the same thing again. Probably another reason why they're waiting for the perfect items. The mech is now completed. You're another, what is that, 1k away from having the Octarine up on no one. The Drow Ranger converted her Dragon Lance into the BKB part, and now can go for the Butterfly.
The blink on Void, I think, is the really big item, actually, because we're not going to see indecision about, you know, if Mag says, guys, I'm going to chrono, I think the team's going to be much more confident and go in, because they expect a very good chrono once there's a blink dagger.
TPing down the bottom lane. They see Pycat. Mag? Yeah, he's going to say it's worth the committal of the level 2 Chronosphere. Cat doesn't take as much damage as you'd think because he's got his Warcry up, but the Shadow Wave was all... Actually, did that Warcry disappear halfway through it, I think? By the way, Shadow Wave also affected them. And now Pycat's down for 50 seconds. Exorcism off cooldown. You don't have your Chronosphere, however. There's no buyback for this event.
Mama's Boys won a split push, which is like the most value they've gotten all game, except for in that one fight where they defended high ground. Most of the value they've gotten is by split pushing, and they've been making very good decisions about when to split push. And actually, this puts... Yeah, that's true, but I mean, they don't have another choice, and it actually puts a lot of pressure on Vega, because Vega have to get this done now.
Also, fighting a little earlier. The creep wave hasn't arrived yet. They have more than enough damage to burn through it, but you've just lost your tier 2 tower in mid. Your tier 3 tower on the top lane is almost down. You claim the bottom racks. Okay, you don't lose your tier 3 tower on top. If they lost that, then I'd be a little bit more questionable about if Monkey Business could have fought back. Solo? Yeah, they're leaving him for dead. He can Shallow Grave and Mech and just waste their time. He doesn't have a TP scroll. So he just decides to stand his ground and fight. He'll die.
Top tower is under attack.
Just having a little fun. doesn't really matter. I mean, I think he probably could have gotten out, but at the same time, if you think there's any risk of being caught, it's actually better to deliberately sacrifice an unimportant hero than take the risk that they get an important one. So sometimes those kind of decisions can be strategic. But actually, the Veil pickup on Bambo is if there is a game-changing item in this game, it's that. It's 100% definitely that. And if we see, because I thought it was really good that Mama's Boys could push. There was no way they were going to defend there, especially not without the Sven. But actually, the next time Vega push, I think Mama's Boys are just going to fight them. And if there's a good Veil, if there's a good Epicenter and stun, it's definitely a fight Mama's Boys can win.
Ron's ready to fight apart from the Invoker, but he does have those BTs on him. Can join the engagement as Bambo puts himself up on top of a hillside. They see Seema. He's gonna actually Glimmer Cape himself up. The Sentry Ward reveals he moved north. Bambo is just hiding in the tree line. The Sigil is actually chasing that Vengeful Spirit.
Alright, they cancel the TP, but no committal from either team. And actually Tar goes down for Vega.
It's like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. like almost everyone from Vega, they're actually gonna smoke themselves up just outside the range.
Bambo's also smoked. He knows that this game is on him right now.
Broke. Mag got close enough to him.
And they know he's there now. That's what they have to avoid. They have to avoid a huge play from Bambo. That's the only thing Vega really needs to be thinking about. And they're disabling his blink as much as they can.
Stormbolt's able to be dodged by the Yule Scepter. They're looking for that
surrounding out.
He's trying to get them to initiate on him. Because he's the Aegis Immortal character. It doesn't matter if he dies, he'll respawn in just a moment's time. No one's always going to wear off, but a big ulti and shallow grave kicks in. 4 heroes from Mag. Now Bambo comes in with the epicenter. He's looking for the kill over on Seema, but they've got so much armor, so much life. The heal is there to disrupt the Rolly though, catching up Mag as well as the Death Prophet. She has to Yule Scepter up and then get a spot away to save him in a big silence in return. Pasha with a gust back finally buys himself some space here, looking for the damage with the double buybacks kicking in here from Monk Business. They're looking to desperately scramble some level of defense here. The Pasha's going to go to work on Yapsor. The silence is holding for now, and Yapsor, well, the silence finally wears off. Pasha has to back up. They still have Shallow Grave available. The Sunstrike, however, he wasn't looking for that one. Yapsor survives on 14 HP. As Vega now have to disengage. No one's been brought back in, so maybe they can't disengage. They have to try and protect that Death Prophet, who starts to Soul Siphon already. The Ice Wall makes it difficult for Soul to escape out of here. There's no one. Do they just leave him? Yeah. They're going to actually leave Seema or Solo. One last Shallow Grave. Seema's done a fair chunk of damage here, however, but he's still going to end up dying. The Solo's also going to end up dying. Hung around a little bit too long and it glimpsed back and killed off. And what did Vega achieve from that? You forced 2 buybacks.
Both the support back, I think.
But he didn't take the racks.
Yeah, they got the tower, they forced 2 support buybacks. It's still actually, I think I agree with you, it's still mostly good for Mama's Boys for the position. And I think that's mostly on the fact that Vega stayed too long. Their DP ulti ran out. And as it was, like, I think 1 or 2 seconds before it ran out, that's when Pycat initiated. Because you can just look at the DP status and see how long it is till ulti's gonna run out, and it's exactly what I was saying at the start of the draft. DP is not dealing lots of damage because of draw aura. DP is dealing a lot of damage because of her ulti, to some extent because of her other spells. But if she doesn't have her ulti up, then all of a sudden a lot of the value on their team is mitigated, and Mama's Boys can actually win a fight. And on top of that, Bambo did get like a very nice jump eventually.
He burned the Aegis Immortal and forced Vegas supports to scramble, which kind of split the fight into 2 different pieces. Currently looking at the biggest beneficiary from these fights, and that's Hook. Well, he's got 4.8k gold over on this Invoker at the moment. I'm interested to see what his next major item is. If it's going to be something like a BKB, so he can stand in the fight. But I don't know if that's even going to be enough, because a lot of the damage coming out from Vega is physical. So do you then try and go for Disable? Do you try and go for something else? What's the play for the Invoker?
I don't know, it's actually a tough one. I think he might get a Hex. Otherwise he might want to buy like a big aura, like an AC or Shivas or something.
What if he got something like a Skadi? Like really good stats and at least turns him into more of a like a damager during the fight.
I mean, that's also, yeah, it's also possible. I feel like the problem is that the impact of the Skadi is too like incremental. Although I say that and he just So the Octarine, probably, right?
I was thinking about a Bloodstone, but
Yeah, that doesn't seem like an Invoker item to me.
it doesn't
Bloodstone.
seem like an Evoker item either. Yeah, Octarine looks like it's the thing.
Alright, so, I mean, that's kind of like the next best thing after Aghanims if you want to just, like, get lots of spells. Gonna be life stealing from all the number of things that he costs. But I worry for, I mean, Mama's Boys, that hold was all about DP not having ulti, and so I feel like the next fight they get into, they might have to actually deal with the DP ulti, otherwise they just lose Raxes. Vega push down that lane, like, you actually have to confront the DP ulti.
Smoke Egg is perfect. Hook walks back into it, Mag. He has a 2-man Chronosphere. He lost the vision, however, I think because it was nighttime and they've walked out of range of the Observer Ward.
Yeah, the nighttime saved him. If it was daytime, he gets a double chrono and, like, very easy kills.
Yeah. Been so huge, like, just after Invoker spent a huge chunk of his money. But they wouldn't have taken away his buyback. But if you got that kill and then you're able to force the buyback, that's probably worth even more because you cripple the biggest hero on Mama's Boys. I keep looking at their name and thinking monkey business.
Yeah, the same thing happens to me actually. It's like MB being monkey business and have to like make an effort to. You look at their picture each time, then remember it says "I love mom."
Yeah, Mama's Boys. I actually tried searching for quirky gifts for Mama's Boys. There was a lot of. I found the cleanest one I possibly could to tweet out for tonight.
Well, that's cool. I am impressed that you tried.
But bang. Now it's time for Mama's Boys to try. Embo comes in from behind, gets the Burrow Strike over on solo, 4 staffs away, keeps himself out of this fight, but then the Chrono catches Icat as well as Hook. That entire DP ulti, I want to watch what happens to Hook right now. Even though the Snowball is delaying up a lot more of the fight, Hook is going to run north away from the rest of his team as the Suns just keep going out. Pasha pumping damage and slow into that Sven, so he just can't keep fighting. Now Icat turns for the stun, but he just can't inflict enough damage anymore. The Invoker is getting the hell out of here. And so is the rest of Vega. Buyback is available for Pycat. And
Vega needs to be careful. DP ulti's gonna run off. They can force Pycat buyback, but if they get caught, they might actually get a bunch of deaths as well.
Well, Bambo's looking for it. He's got Epicenter as well as Veil ready. You're right.
I think this is actually very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. Like, they want the Sven to buy back, but I think they need to realize that if he does buy back, it's gonna be because they're caught out.
Just go for Roshan. He's up now.
Yeah, that fight, by the way, like, it was almost very good for Mama's Boys. The Void and the Avenger were both meant to die at the start of the fight. I don't know if you picked it up, but faced this Void, cast Time Walk, and healed like 800 HP. He like was tanking all this huge nuke damage from Invoker spells, and he Time Walk from red HP back to pretty much full. Occasionally you see that happening. It's like basically just a Weaver ulti, and then people like kind of just, I don't know, face palm at the spell.
So Aegis the Immortal is now in the hands of the Death Prophet. Again, I kind of question a little bit why the Aegis is kind of better on the Drow who can just get bursted down. But yeah, the Death Prophet is a lot more difficult to do that on. But they give her the Aegis anyway, so it looks like no one's going to become that tank. The Octarine is now finished from Hook, but let's check out buyback status. SK Invoker and Sven, so even after purchasing that item, they've still got their buybacks. And they've almost waited at the full 6 minutes since their previous push. Oh,
Bambo's trying to set up.
They found Bambo on the side. Commit Chrono for it. It's an Aghanims Chrono, so hey, why not?
He has to buy back.
He does.
They can't defend without him. There's no way.
Vega is still going to push up. We've only got another 3 seconds left. In comes the Bambo TP. The Allsep is keeping Death Prophet in position, but Seema, he just knows. The Observer is already down. They understand exactly where Bambo is. And now they just keep beating into Pycat once again. No one dodges the stun with his BKB trigger. Allows him to walk through the wall as well. But that DP ulti now, 2/3 of the way through the duration. There's still a very big creep wave here, and they're going to glimpse Pasha back. He doesn't BKB to dodge the glimpse though. In fact, just BKBs after he gets glimpsed back in again. But that exorcism has run out. The BKBs are gone. Bambo is looking for that Burrow Strike. He's going to go into the tree line, almost a YOLO kind of style. Forced up away from the Soul Siphon as well as the silence of no one. Vega, they can't find him at all. Mama's boys have gone 3 different ways, but Bambo again. Oh, they couldn't afford to have this happen. At least they don't have the big damage dealing ultimate that's killing him off as the Invoker tries to burn through the VS, but it's not going to happen. They just swap Yaptor back in. This could be the game right now where you lose your big heroes until that ulti from Disruptor. Zima, he's going to live, get out of the... Okay, he's going to stay in the storm, but they survive anyway.
I like the little kind of mini fight between the two offlaners this game. Where, I mean, that's what, like, Void got Axe and then catches Sand King with Chrono. He dies, he buys back. Void catches him again with another Chrono and like a minute later. And that's kind of like, I mean, obviously Vega ahead and close to closing out the game. But the fact that Mag caught Bambo twice in a row is kind of like the final straw that breaks the camel's back. And I mean, they're going to pause because they want to fix their lag, but I think even without Exorcism here, these mid-Raxes die. And the Exorcism is coming back very soon. So Vega might just stay and go for a third side.
This is Nocturne, so use the cooldown anyway. And that physical damage is too much. There's no tier 2 tower on the top lane to protect the top racks either. Paja's still walking around with cheese and no one's still got the Aegis the Immortal. So there's no reason why they can't just force in the Megas. This game, it's... I'm sorry for the Mama's boys, but this is over. Mag's got Chrono back off cooldown. All he's going to see Pycat and actually catches Hook instead. So Pycat can try and look to do as much damage as he wants to. He's getting some good cleave damage out. Seema, well, he's still visible, but now they just turn over to Pycat. And he is dead. Boca will fly back. Parkson just triggers his cheese, so he just survives through it. Bambo throws the ulti up, but he's only really hitting BKB targets, and there it is. Finally, the TG call comes out. Vega will take game number 1 with a well-executed draw strat, maybe a little bit too eager on the bottom lane, but overall, this game, it never really felt like it got out of their control.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, I sort of feel like a matchup between these two teams is Vega's expected to be the stronger team, expected to outclass Mama's boys, and Mama's boys, I think, need to outthink Vega, and I don't think they really did it this game. It didn't impress me, didn't really convince me. I definitely still think they're capable of it, but yeah, for this game 1, it's just one-way traffic, and it's